Hey, so I know it's been a little while since we did any kind of updates about the hormone situation or about what's going on with me gender-wise or any of those things. And I also know that it's like 5 something in the morning on the East Coast. So all but 2 of you that are awake right now are probably not even awake enough to watch this. So I know that people are mostly going to see this later. But the thing is, most of you know I've been dealing with chronic migraines in part because of my estrogen levels. They dipped really low when I was on T, and my body freaks out when they're high and when they're low. It likes this nice little narrow range. So I had to do some hormone alchemy and start basically dropping down from the ceiling dose of testosterone down to not taking it at all, down to taking both testosterone and estrogen and progesterone at one point. I was like this, omni-hormonal creature. It was kind of epic, but that didn't get the migraines down enough, so I had to cut the testosterone, cut the estrogen, just to progesterone, and then go back. Like right now I'm running progesterone and just under a month back on low-dose testosterone, like the minimum available patch. And that's been really helpful for my anxiety, which I noticed basically I was having symptoms of low testosterone. I'm like, why am I so anxious and low energy? Oh, right. So I went, well, let me try the patch, see how it does with the migraine. So right now, I've got progesterone on board, I've got testosterone on board, and I've got things mostly under control body-wise. I guess the weird thing is that as soon as I dropped the testosterone down, the changes that it made on my face were really quick, but the changes that it made on my hips were instant. I went from finally almost having androgynous hips to vroom, and it wasn't subtle, and now I have, I had top surgery, I have no tits, so it's really hard to find clothes right now. And it was hugely triggering in terms of dysphoria to lose almost everything so quickly. And so I've been going through this real struggle for the past several months in terms of self-acceptance, in terms of figuring out what the rapid changes in terms of how the hormones influence my presentation, what that means for me in terms of how I interact with the world, what that means for me in terms of what I ask from the world in terms of my gender. Do I stop asking for some of the things that I've been asking because of how presentation impacts that? And so I've spent a lot of time dealing with epic social dysphoria because literally as soon as I even dropped down my T-dose, I was getting, and I wasn't dressed like this either for clarity, I was not wearing makeup, or at least not wearing as much. I was not wearing a dress. I was dressed in fairly normal boy clothes, but, still. I was even making an effort to tone down my hyper-effeminate body language, which, as you can see, that's a struggle. But it was really hard getting Miss and Ma'am almost instantly when I'd gone through, having surgery to alter my body, dealing with severe disabling pain for about a year straight because I was fighting to get them under control while still having my presentation needs met. And I had to become pragmatic. I had to choose my ability to interact with the world, to not be constantly in pain physically over the difficulties of suddenly being invisible again. And that's how it feels, is I feel invisible again. I cut my hair very reluctantly when I first started socially transitioning. And so I've been, telling myself for years, the last 2 years, I'm going to grow it back out as soon as I can. As soon as I can, grow it back out. So when I was super sick and I couldn't get a haircut, my hair started growing back out again. So now it's bob length. And I'm fighting with myself, am I going to grow my hair back out? Am I going to cut it short again and look like a normal genderqueer person and actually have people ask me for my pronouns and, be able to wear menswear and not have people immediately think that I'm a cis woman with a bad haircut or a trans lesbian with a bad haircut, which reminds me I need to get a haircut. But I'm down in the South visiting family right now, and being here has been the sort of weird system jolt because I've been switching up my clothing genders throughout the trip based partially on experimentation and based partially out of necessity because the pants that I broke, the pants that I brought broke, so no pants. So dealing with no pants on this trip has meant certain things gender-wise, and there was one point in the trip where I was literally in a booth at Denny's with my mother and sister, and my mom kept calling me she and using my name in, verbal air quotes. She would say something, 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 Alex, something, something, something. And my sister was sitting right across from me, and she was consistently, even though I'm sitting there in a skirt, she was heeing me consistently. And, I told them both, you can use they, we can make this easy for everybody. And that wasn't landing, but it's been a very weird and confronting sort of journey. And so I've had to kind of take stock and reassess basically the things that I gave up to have the world see me. A lot of them were things that I didn't want to give up, like my presentation, my body language, my hair, my name, Sabrina. I loved the name. And I took those things that were very much a part of who I am, and I sacrificed them to stop being invisible, to have the world actually see, the rest of me, the femme guy in me, the genderqueer in me, the non-binary androgynous person that I am, that was not visible on the outside before, but that anybody who interacted with me for any period of time picked up on. And so I've been trying to determine, after 2 years of trying to get the world to see me in a certain way and feeling in a lot of ways like that failed. What does that mean in terms of now? Do I keep running with something that isn't making me happy? That doesn't make sense. Do I do branding suicide and reclaim my name, which is something that was very important to me? And I also need to think about down the line how this is going to be if I'm presenting very masculine and, I haven't shaved and all of that. And the name on my license says Sabrina. Is that going to cause a problem? And so I'm in this situation where I don't think that there are really any good answers. I don't think that there is a right answer. I think it's just trying to find the least wrong answer. And for today, at least, the least wrong answer is wearing a sweater dress to fly in. I flew in boy clothes, and I'm flying out like this, and I'm comfortable. I'm just frustrated. So I'm going to get a giant tattoo across my forehead that says non-binary or genderqueer or something, but I need to get the neon flashy lights. But once I get the neon flashy lights, I'll be all set. And in the meantime, I get to go have another interesting flying while trans experience and do it this time knowing that there's no way I'm not going to get misgendered, emphasis on the miss, because I'm wearing a dress. We need signs. That's all there is to it. We need signs, and yeah, so that's what's going on right now. Things are in a little bit of a trying to figure out what's going on decision place. And so you'll see different appearance fluctuations. You'll see different things in terms of presentation. In terms of pronouns, I'm still preferring they, them. If that's difficult for you, you can just use my name, Alex, that's fine. And in terms of presentation, just, I guess, try to roll with it when I show up some days looking like this. Thanks for coming along on this ride.